What are we thinking? Episode 3. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today.
Yes, thank you.
Be sure to like, subscribe, review, leave some comments, share this, all that stuff. If you like what it is we're talking about today,
Yes.
if it's been helpful for you in any way, it helps the algorithm. It helps this podcast get a little bit more traction.
That's
so
right.
thank you in advance for doing that. As you can see today, you're going to enjoy today a little bit more because we know what camera is on us right now.
That's right.
Historically,
We
we
do.
haven't known that. See how it just switched, and now I'm looking at this camera because the what's it called? The flash
LED
on your,
light.
the LED light on the back of the phone now lights up
Yeah.
whenever
Thank you,
the
Daniel
camera
Howe.
switches. So
Shout
thank
out
you,
to
Daniel,
Daniel
Howe,
for
that.
everything. Yes.
As our eyes will now be able to switch to the camera, so I'm really excited about that. But have had a really interesting week this week, to say the least. We'll get into our episode 1 podcast and some of that feedback here in
Yes.
just a second. But I know personally this week's been funny. It's just been funny, man. It's been funny. I've had more Facebook interaction this week from people who I guess have problems with different things that I believe.
Sure.
I mean, I've been pastoring here for over a year now, and that hasn't happened yet. And this week, it's been like an overabundance of
week.
that. I'm sure it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the fact that we talked about racism last week. Nothing. But I've had some interesting interaction with people. Just for example, a certain individual, he may be a pastor, a local pastor, I'm not really sure, but a certain individual who believes that once you become a Christian, you cannot sin at all.
'Cause that's true.
Christians just can't sin.
Right.
Or either they just never were actually saved. They were never a Christian. So that's been some interesting stuff, I guess, that's happened with me. Not to mention, I got my stimulus check yesterday,
Fantastic.
which is a big deal. I feel richer than I've ever felt in my life. I actually haven't cashed it yet, though, because I went to cash it, and I didn't realize Sam had to sign it as well.
Right.
And so I tried to do it. They're like, you got to get your wife to sign it. So we're going to be cashing that tomorrow, hopefully, before they close. So that's nice. That's been some much needed relief. How's your week been?
Most of you guys know on Facebook, if you follow me and my wife, you saw our story. My wife lost her job, so we've been dealing with that. She's been interviewing constantly. That's a whole nother side of COVID-19 to be on. So that's been interesting, to say the least. A little anxiety here and there for everybody. Mixed feelings. But other than that, just the same old routine, man. I've been stuck in this routine where every night when we get done with everything, I eat popcorn and watch a movie or some random documentary on Netflix.
Yep.
And there's literally nothing else to do. That's it.
There is nothing
There's
else to
nothing
do.
else to do. There's literally
No.
I literally just watch TV and
Yeah.
eat popcorn.
That's pretty much been our week as well.
I mean-
Because for me, it's like a little bit opposite. Sam hasn't had a job for like 2 months because
Right.
she's a
Now she's getting to work
cosmetologist.
again.
So she
Right.
hasn't been working. And now she's working like 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Right.
every day. So it's like see her for 30 minutes in the morning as we're getting ready or
Right.
whatever. She comes home. We eat a little bit together. I wait to finish my meal until she comes home. We eat. We watch Netflix for a little bit. Then we hang out and talk for about 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
And then we're asleep by 10:30. And then we get up and do the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's been like overly busy, which our bank account is happy about
That's
that.
good.
Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, which means I'm
Yeah.
happy about that. But like this, it's not something that can last like this forever.
Right.
I'm going to go
Right.
crazy if it does.
Same.
But so a little bit of the opposite end of the spectrum there.
Right.
But
The biggest news
won't
we
complain.
had, my oldest graduated high school. Obviously, that's a big deal.
True.
So I had a huge shindig for him. But other than that, and that was a weird thing too, graduation lasted under an hour. It was
That's so
53
strange.
minutes because we had to do one section of it on another day. So we had to do it 2 days
Got
before
you.
actual graduation, all the scholarship announcements and all the awards and all that stuff. And then they did regular graduation, and basically everybody got up there. They didn't even in the program you knew who the valedictorian was and all that, but they just
Mhm.
got up, spoke really fast, said their piece, got up, announced some other things, and
Hey,
gave
maybe
out
this was a good
diplomas.
lesson on how graduation could happen forever.
Yes,
moving
and actually
forward.
the diploma that they picked at, I actually handed them was nothing. It was like just had nothing in it. They all walked up, grabbed one, walked away out of the
Wow.
pile, and then they gave them to him later. So they had that in a
Huh.
folder, in like a manila folder. They gave
Yeah.
it to him afterwards. But that was really weird. And there wasn't a whole lot of social distancing going on. for the
Didn't
most
figure.
part. I mean, some people wore masks. You had like 10 people out of the whole crowd that wore masks.
Right.
You're only allowed so many guests per family. That was kind of odd. But, yeah, it was a really just awkward, weird graduation. It was great. They did the best with what they had.
Yeah,
I mean, but it
yeah.
was still really kind of awkward and kind of weird. But since this whole thing started, it's been literally watch TV every night with nothing to do. And it's been
Yes.
it's been kind of weird, but it's another routine. I love routines. Like,
Me too.
so-
I thrive with a
yeah,
routine.
so I've stuck in like go to bed every night at exactly 10:30 almost,
Yeah, same.
unless I'm getting to the last.
Unless you're
dance
wild
late.
and crazy.
Yeah, go to bed at 11 because I still get up at 5. So
Hey, speaking of that, how'd you like The Last Dance?
loved it.
Yeah,
I
same.
thought it was incredible.
Am I allowed to say that I loved it? It has a lot of cuss words in it, but
No, but I like that. I like
okay.
raw. I like
Yeah,
raw emotion.
it's
so,
it's real.
yes,
It's as
I
real as
didn't
it
watch
gets.
the censored version.
I
I
think-
refused to watch the censored
I think I was
version.
more inspired by The Last Dance than I was any Christian movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was ooh.
Hot take there.
Sizzling hot take. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that either.
It was
but
great
oh
though.
well.
It was really good though. It was good to see.
It was great.
so many different angles. We're going to talk about that actually today. It's part of our headline news segment. But I definitely like the fact that you can be a leader and take that role and push people
Yeah.
to also for the same goal. And I think, if we could operate a little bit more like that in church leadership,
absolutely.
to push people.
Like, how can I be
and
be
learn
like
from
be
that.
like Mike as a
Yeah,
pastor?
glean
Yeah,
from that.
yeah.
I mean, besides all, not just
Don't be addicted to gambling,
yeah,
and probably don't cuss out all of your
Right.
your staff.
Right.
But
don't
I mean,
fight people, but don't punch people in the mouth.
Yeah.
But other than that, like there were some really good things, like just have an expectation of people,
right?
and hold them to it and
No,
push
it's
them
great.
to it. Yeah, I thought it was great. I love that era. That's the era I grew up in. So I was a huge Jordan fan.
Yeah.
I was also a huge, like whoever was hot at the moment, like whatever team was winning the title, like that's who I was rooting for.
Right,
But I was a huge
right.
Bulls fan as a kid too. So yeah, it was
Well,
great.
watching The Last Dance, I will say this: being historically a LeBron fan,
I'm a LeBron
it's
fan
really
too.
hard
Like,
for me.
I don't.
It's
I
really
don't
hard for
fault
me
you
to
for that.
say Michael Jordan's the greatest, LeBron's the greatest, whatever, simply because it's so impossible to compare people who played such distance apart.
Right.
You know, it's a completely
Why
different
does there
league
have to
than
be
it
a
was
greatest,
then.
though?
Yeah, I don't think there has to be a greatest, but my viewpoint toward Michael Jordan was completely changed
Oh.
for the better by
I
watching
can totally
The Last
see that.
Dance.
Yes.
Because I think if you put Michael, even in the league of today, with that kind of tenacity, I think he still wins those kind of championships
Yes,
and stuff like
absolutely.
that. But I think if you put LeBron in a league back then where he's grown up having to play that rough and stuff like that, his physicality is still, I mean, he's still going to be a dominant force. No
He would
matter
have a completely different mindset.
yeah, he would have a completely different mindset. He would still be this huge dude. I mean, he's the size of Magic Johnson, but he's 100 pounds heavier than Magic Johnson.
Mhm.
So it's
Yes.
like, maybe not 100, but he's just so big. So I will say that my respect, while I already had respect for Michael, getting to watch that, it made me really, really double take on,
Mhm.
I've been so quick to say, LeBron's the greatest. What are you talking about? Going back and watch Jordan find my favorite part of the whole series, and I'll probably talk about this at some point in a sermon. I don't know how, but I'm probably going to, is when he would find his why. It's
every
like
time.
these moments where he even created a why that didn't exist one time.
Right.
He told all these people that this guy looked at him and said this funny thing and made it this big media thing, and then come to find out
Yeah.
it never even happened, but it was enough to like push him over the edge to go get that championship, or someone would talk trash to him, or someone would say something, and he would always find that why, and it would push him over the edge to do these superhuman feats. So that's
Right.
by far, because it's the theme. Every single year they won,
Yes.
there's this same story always comes about.
Mhm.
Who is it that pissed Michael off? Who is it that made him be 100
That's
times
right.
better than he already was? And so I loved that. Trying to, can I find a why every Sunday? Is like before I go to preach.
Yes.
Do I have that kind of why driving me? So I don't
Right.
know. I love that part of it.
That's why it's so important.
Right.
So important. And I
Right.
think you can look at Michael Jordan and watch him create a why.
Yeah.
Even when he didn't feel like he had one left.
create one
He
out
would
of thin
create one,
air,
yes.
even if it was a lie.
Yep.
So it was
he
neat.
would use some little rookie that maybe
Yeah.
said something like not even trash talking, but just like
Good game, Mike.
yeah.
He used the phrase "good game, Mike" as his why because he thought it was, he thought he was being condescending, and I'm like, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
that's so
now I
good.
know you mentioned our headlines section.
Headlines.
a second ago.
New segment, headlines. This is going to be incredible. I love it. Headlines. We're going to read some headlines for you, give our opinion on these headlines. So, first headline. CDC releases some new guidelines saying that contaminated surfaces are not a big risk. And they're not worried about surfaces anymore. It's mainly just people. But they are saying, let me read down here.
What does that mean? Contaminated surfaces are not a risk. Well,
they're not a risk because every time somebody's talked about coming to a facility, they're like, we're wiping down everything, cleaning down all our surfaces.
Got you.
We're taking all these precautions.
Yeah.
And they're saying that our transmission language has not changed. COVID-19 spreads mainly through close contact from person to person. But there was a thing in the beginning where they were telling everybody to
it's on the surface of things.
disinfect everything,
Yeah.
clean all the surfaces, and now they're saying that's not a
So does that
deal.
mean
So
that when we meet back to having church again, I'm not going to have to wipe down every chair before the next?
I would say that's
comes in there?
exactly what it means. It's, if somebody sneezes on you, you're way more screwed
Awesome.
than if you touch the table that
Don't sneeze on
they
me.
sneezed on earlier. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't
Does
know.
that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I get that.
I'm not a doctor, nor am I an expert on COVID-19 or any other crazy scenario
either.
headline that comes through here. But that is definitely something that I thought was very interesting. And it was the newest COVID-19 news that came out that got shared on Facebook 400 times. And it was then totally, by the time it got shared 400 times, it didn't even say the same thing anymore.
Of course.
But the response was still the same. We're really mad this came out.
Yeah.
Everybody was really mad.
Yeah.
So that's important to know.
Okay. So,
So-
am I providing my take on this? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, my take is pretty much no matter how hard we try, we're going to touch surfaces that other people have touched. If someone sneezes on their hand, wipes their face, does anything like that, goes to get gas, goes to grab coffee, goes
Exactly.
to open a door, I would say it is impossible to not touch a surface someone else has already touched, meaning that it can't be about keeping your surfaces clean anyways. It's got to be about keeping your hands clean. If you really want to get like intense with this, you're going to have to keep your hands clean. You're going to have to wash your hands. You're going to have to get a paper towel to turn the sink on, to open the door when you walk out of there, and then not touch your face. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're terrified about the COVID-19 thing, but you haven't washed your phone screen off this entire time,
Right.
then you're a big giant hypocrite, because that's where, everything you touch, you go and touch your phone, and then you put your
Right.
phone up to your mouth. So it's like, it's just really tough. I'm not saying that there's not truth and stuff like that and all that, but if you're like getting really serious about it, it's going to take you being personally accountable for washing your hands pretty much, because
Yes.
you're going to touch surfaces that other people have touched. And the second you do that, if you touch your steering wheel after, you know what I'm saying? How many times does that spread? I mean, it just seems,
Right.
it seems pretty impossible.
Exactly.
So
Second headline, something that goes back to episode 1 of our podcast. Man who filmed shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery used vehicle to detain him, warrant says, and he was actually arrested for felony charge murder. So the third guy that filmed this, where all this video footage came from, he was actually arrested this past week for murder. They said if a crime happens and because he was using his vehicle to detain him, it would not let him get away, that's why he's being charged with murder also. So all three of those guys were charged with murder now. That's what we're waiting on. So that was the breaking news on that case. Because up until this point, he was still free.
right.
So the third guy's been arrested. The family said they were very, obviously at ease that he's been arrested now. That makes them feel better. So
Yeah.
there's certainly a lot of that story's going to die down because COVID-19 is still the top hot
Right.
thing going on. But we don't want to let that just die without
Absolutely.
any kind of noise, because it's still huge news,
Mhm.
and especially what we talked about and what Michael Hunt came in and talked about with racism and everything that we see and hear with that. So what's your take on the third guy being arrested, being caught?
I think
being held
it's-
accountable.
I think it's good. I think it's good that he's being held accountable for
Mhm.
being a part of that he doesn't just get to get out scot-free.
Right.
I think it's so strange because he is the one that made this story go so big with the video itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, thank you for filming that, even though it's the most horrendous video I've watched maybe ever. I'm sure there's been lots of other stuff released, but that's just tough. So it's like, thank you for taking that video so that the world can see the massive change that needs to happen, but also glad that he is going to get the opportunity to kind of have to pay a little bit of price for his involvement in that. And I guess my overall hope is is that while, I'm a believer, so I always stand for giving people second chances. I always want people to have the opportunity to recover from drastic mistakes that they made. And so I think my highest hope is that these guys, my hope is that they don't actually get the death penalty. My hope is that they have to spend a really long time in prison, that they have to really think long and hard about it, that they have to encounter lots of interesting situations that prison will afford them around people of different colors than themselves, and that it's an opportunity to learn rather than an opportunity to just simply be put away forever and then maybe suffer a death penalty. I hope they get the opportunity to learn, to bounce back, to where maybe one day they get the chance to grow from this experience and maybe even help their families, their friends, serve as a model for that. On the other hand, the African American community may not be awarded that kind of that kind of sentence for a crime like this. Black people are 27 times more likely to spend a larger amount of jail time for a crime than a white person is. And so it's like, what would be the case if this was, something different? Would the African American man go to jail and stay there forever? Would he get the death penalty? I don't really know, because my best bet says he's not getting out anytime soon. So then again, it's like, well, I don't know what I want, but I hope that it's an opportunity to grow and learn either way, because it's a terrible mistake. It's a terrible decision. But who knows, man? Maybe even if they don't get out of jail, I just hope they learn from this, man. Like I hope that they get to be, they just have an opportunity to grow from this. No
I hope
matter
this
what.
can be a part of their story where they can tell other people, not to be blinded by that, not to be so consumed with who you think committed a crime that you go that far. Right. Yeah, I think that's great. So this is huge. Apple just released this. It's funny. There was a story that broke last year from The Guardian that said Apple was employing contractors to listen to and grade Siri recordings. Okay, so this was done without users' knowledge, and contractors regularly heard confidential information from iPhone and iPad owners, including medical information, drug deals, couples having sex. So Apple issued this big apology, admitting that we haven't been, living up to our high ideals of, secure phones and all this other stuff. And it says, but now, according to the Guardian's whistleblower, we are learning that nothing has changed. They're still recording all your Siri stuff. So when you talk to Siri, when you say, "Hey Siri," and whatever you say next, they're recording it. Somebody's listening to it, so they can grade how Siri records. I guess to make the technology better or whatever, but they are listening.
Oh yeah, to make the technology better. That sounds legitimate. Oh gosh, I don't know. Keep going if you.
It says the recordings were often taken outside of any activation of Siri, so Siri doesn't even have to be activated for them to hear you talk. So this is a big thing for Apple. It was saying the 1.5 million people that regularly use Apple products, that have all these Apple products. It was saying, hey, maybe it's time to walk away, or whatever. So, but we all know, I think all technology is listening. I feel like if you watched any kind of Ed Snowden documentary or actually watched the movie, I think that that's a thing. So I thought it was kind of horrendous. I hate the thought of being recorded, and I just don't like people being in my business but it's not like I say anything weird to Siri either. You know what I mean?
Right.
I may be having
Siri,
a conversation.
Call my drug dealer.
Is that a contact in your phone?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't
Call
think
Mookie.
I've ever done that.
I don't know, but I need to.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. I mean, okay. While on one hand, I don't think I say anything that if just some random person were to listen in on it, it would be that bad. I mean, I guess the most horrible thing that someone would hear would be, the late night hours between a husband and a wife or something. So I mean, while that would be terrible and awful or whatever, I mean, they're not publishing it. I mean, I don't think it's right. Okay, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's good. I'm such a millennial that I'm going to continue using Apple products until something happens. It freaks me out. Don't get me wrong. It freaks me out when, and shout out to the Switcher app. That's how we're able to change cameras. We're using our iPhones to film this right now. Right. So it freaks me out when we have the first conversation about the Switcher app, and all of a sudden I see ads for Switcher on my Instagram, knowing it's because my microphone picked that up. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That is, and I think there's even safeguards you can take to not allow that to be a thing.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think there's settings that you can turn that kind of stuff off. Now, do most people turn that off? No.
This even goes a little bit further. It says the recordings were not limited to the users of Apple devices, but also involved relatives, children, friends, colleagues,
True.
and whoever could be recorded by the device. The system recorded everything: names, addresses, messages, searches, arguments, background noises, films, conversations. One contractor said, "I heard people talking about their cancer, referring to dead relatives, religion, sexuality, pornography, politics, school, relationships, or drugs with no intention to activate Siri whatsoever." Just
Wow.
sitting there talking. So
I think it's
Big Brother's
I think
listening.
there's no doubt someone's listening, and they're not the NSA, you
No.
know. So it's like I mean, definitely I find a problem in that. Do I know how to address that problem?
His name's Dave,
No.
and he works for some contractor. And he's
Right.
listening to everything you talk about.
Awesome. Hey, Dave, if you're listening to our podcast right now,
Hey, Dave. So glad you're listening.
hope this is blessing you.
Last headline. Evidently, talking about The Last Dance, all of Jordan's teammates are pissed because of how they were depicted in the film. Scottie Pippen being the main one. So mad.
How was he depicted in the film?
Well, because they talked about him quitting on the team.
He did.
Jordan complained about his wanting to have surgery when he wanted to have surgery because of his whole contract thing or
Yeah.
whatever. And then Horace Grant was mad because Jordan said he snitched on him about whatever that was. I forgot what it was in the film that he said he snitched on him for.
I can't remember either.
It was something that happened with the news media. He said Horace Grant was the one who leaked that information.
Yeah.
Horace Grant was really upset. Those two were the worst. And I can't remember if there was one other guy that was upset or not, but those two were the main ones that were super pissed at how they were depicted in the film. And Michael, and of course, you have to understand something like this is about Michael Jordan.
Right.
This is not about the Bulls or the last. Like,
It's definitely not about Horace Grant.
It's not really about anybody other than Michael
It's
Jordan.
about Michael Jordan.
But when you involve Michael Jordan in something, you have to understand, even going in, being interviewed as a teammate, he's going to have control of how this thing pans out.
Right.
His perspective is obviously going to be the main narrative in the story. So if he has a certain perspective of you, it's going to get out. I mean, you had to know that going in.
Yeah.
But maybe they did. Maybe they had no idea and they were blindsided. I don't know. I did think, I get it. He's competitive and driven, and I love all those things about him.
Yeah.
And creating the why was really, really good. There's a cost to some of that. I think that drive cost him a lot of relationships.
For sure.
But I do appreciate it in a sense of what he's able to accomplish. But I also get there's a price, and it sucks if maybe those guys. They said some of the conversations aren't talked about that brings him in a bad light either. You know what I mean? Like his perspective of the conversation was this, but there was more to the story than what actually was said. So that's something that definitely got brought up. But I know that Scottie was the main one. He was severely upset and
I left the documentary. Thinking Scottie Pippen was the man. So I don't know.
Well, he was upset.
He was upset, but at the same time, he accepted the contract that he had, and I mean, look, he didn't have to.
And he did he did the documentary. He did all of it. He agreed to it. He did it. And I guess you don't get to see the final product maybe until it's completely released.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought it may have teasers. And I was wrong. We have one more thing I want to share.
Yeah.
It's not actually a headline, but it's something I saw on my feed that I wanted to share that I thought was kind of interesting. And it was definitely an interesting perspective to have. So there is a pastor from Baltimore. This was out of Fox News. I obviously don't really watch Fox News, but this is the article he shared. And it says this. It says, Baltimore pastor rips up cease and desist letter mid-sermon and says, we're going to do it God's way. And as funny as that is to me, this is the guy that shared the article said, I only have one problem with this entire article. And he says, David Gibbs, who's the guy that rips up the cease and desist letter, I guess, made the statement, if Walmart is open, the church should be open. But my question is, the guy that posted the article, he takes it a little step further. He said, Walmart was never closed. So why did so many churches close? I'm afraid the church has lost ground that will never be regained. That's pretty.
Why?
Well, I think it's it's a comment. I guess it's an opinion you can have. We all have opinions.
I
That's
guess
fine.
so.
But I don't believe any of that is true.
I'm just thinking, I mean, if you got what it takes to lead a church, surely you got what it takes to reach out to your people and say, hey, the doors are back open. We'll see you soon. I don't know. What do you mean you'll never gain that? Like,
I feel like
don't
he's
even know what
saying
that
because we
means.
closed one time, because we said we couldn't meet, that we
now
failed.
every time something like that happens again, we're going to...
Yeah, I think he's saying Walmart stayed open, the church didn't. So the Walmart has more faith than the church. I don't even know
No.
what that means, but
I don't either.
it's definitely saying that we lost out because we refused, or because we did succumb to the government or whatever you want to say. I don't believe any of
Look,
that.
we never
but-
stopped having church.
right. That's key.
We never stopped having
Yes.
church one time. The
But
only
that's
people
what
that-
he's saying.
The only churches that missed out were those that weren't prepared or that weren't already taking the intentional steps to reach people via social media.
Mm-hmm.
They were.
Right.
It was the least intentional churches were the only ones who didn't get to meet.
I agree. And
They could have always been doing this.
yes, and he's saying because we shut the physical doors, that we lost out, and we have lost ground that we will that will never be regained. That's a pretty bold statement, but I don't believe that at all either. I
No.
think you can say that. You can say, we know church is in the building. We know it's great to meet together. We know it's great
Yeah.
to do this together, to celebrate what God's doing, to reach people that way. That's how we do it.
Right.
But I think this scenario has challenged people in a way in their personal relationship more so than anything else.
Right.
It's challenged me. I have to be way more intentional now
Right.
because I have to do this at home.
Anyone that actually had a personal relationship with God via reading their Bible, praying, reading other books, or even just watching YouTube videos of I've gotten to grow so much during
Right.
this time
Yeah.
because I've begun reaching out to different sources and different teachers and stuff like that. Anybody who is doing that, no one backslid during this time.
Right.
It's the people who didn't have a personal walk with God who suffered the most, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
The early church did not meet like we do. They couldn't. They couldn't bring 500 people or even 300 people into
Right.
the same gathering because if they did, they were all going to get burned alive. They had to meet house to house, dude. That's what blows my mind. Like, if you really
Right.
wanted community, why didn't you have somebody over? Why does it take you being in your church building with your praise band for you to worship? Why can't you go in your house, turn on your CD player, put on some a worship song, and worship with 5 or 6 of your friends who are also willing to come over? Why can't you? We used to do that as a
Right.
youth group all the time.
Right.
We didn't have a praise band as a youth group, but guess what? We still worshiped. We turned on
Mhm.
music, and we went for it. And I can't tell you how much I pull from preachers that have stuff online and on
Mhm.
YouTube. And
Right.
if your pastor chose to not go out of his way to put content out there, that's no one's fault but his, first of all, or hers. So I just, dude, this wasn't a forever thing.
Right.
If they told us churches could never meet again, there'd be a problem with that.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't a forever thing. It just blows my mind. You know who really suffered during this thing? It's not the church. It's college football. College football suffered during this thing. Colleges will have to close their doors.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
But if your tithes stopped just because people couldn't meet on Sunday,
Yeah.
that's a deeper problem
Yeah, then just not meeting.
than not being able to, like, it. There's just a lot more in that. So, yeah.
Because I don't even know what that means. We're going to do it God's way.
I don't either. What is
Does
God's
God
way?
send down a voice from heaven,
We don't-
rebel against the government?
The church building is not the temple. We don't have to be here to serve God or worship God anymore.
Right.
It's just a building. Like,
Yeah. Because it's funny to me how there are certain organizations that are struggling to find people to deliver food to the people that can't get it.
Right.
And we don't have churches lining up at the door to hey,
No.
can we help with that? It's like we just want to meet.
Right.
We're just mad because we can't meet. That's the most important thing in the entire world. We don't really care about making sure people have food
Right.
or helping them in that.
We just
area.
want to do it our way.
We just want to go meet and be around other people so we can socialize and hang out.
That's what it's all
if we were being
about.
honest.
That's what it's all about.
But anyway, that was my last one. That was the one that stuck out to me yesterday when I read it, and I was like, "Oh wow, we're going to do it God's
Interesting.
way." So,
Interesting.
piggybacking off of that, headlines is over. Podcast 1 was exceptional. A lot of feedback from Podcast
Yes,
1.
lots of
the
good
episode was
feedback.
great. We had Michael Hunt in here talking about racism. Just an incredible episode to put on our first one. I'll be honest, there was some like nerves for me putting that out there in the beginning because I was like, man, this could be really, really engaging in a bad way. You know, but you know what? White people ignored it.
Yep.
For the most
That's
part.
right. They saw it. They saw it was on racism. Like, we're not going to watch this.
It's always funny how you can tell on social media when people are ignoring something because, like, if you post something and people share it a lot from your church, even, and then you post something from your church about racism, and it's like the numbers just
Four
drop.
shares. You're like,
Oh, it wasn't very
Interesting.
inspiring.
interesting.
Somebody felt convicted.
Uh-huh.
They didn't want to talk about it.
You know, I heard. Don't get me wrong. I heard some great feedback from
Yeah, same,
white
for
people
sure.
as well. But having so many of my African American friends comment, share, tag me, call me, message me, and just say thank you. Like, they're like, thanks for talking about that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
And you know, it was neat, and even having like Nick Glenn,
Mhm.
who's a
Yeah.
local police
Love meeting
officer
him.
in Milan. He was just impressed that we did it, I guess. He was just happy about it.
Right.
The night before or maybe the night after we had posted it, he shared this thing on his own Facebook, not knowing that we had been talking about this already, where it was his birthday and someone decided just to reach out to him and say, hey, happy birthday, N-word. And just, or maybe it was on his
Wow.
Instagram page. And,
It was Instagram.
and so he saw that, and he actually came up just a few days ago and talked with us about it, and was just like giving us some of his, his experiences as well, even as a police officer, that were just, they were intense, dude.
Yeah, they were rough.
They were intense, but it was just neat, man, being able to see some really good feedback, being able to honor people in our church and in our communities that don't ever feel heard, that don't ever feel
Right.
honored, and being able to be loud and proud to do that. So it's not even a big step for us. We're white people. Like, it's not a...
We need to be that way.
Yeah, it's not even something that's like, man, you guys were so courageous in doing that. No, it doesn't take any courage for us to do that. It takes zero courage. It just takes common sense for us to do that. But it was an honor to get to get to talk about it, to get to be those people, and we're going to do it more, a lot more, in fact. And I'll do it more every year. You'll hear one or two sermons come from Alex Gallion that have to do with that topic, because it's a legitimate topic that we have to talk about all the time.
That should always be a never forget thing.
Absolutely.
Like, always be intentional, because
Absolutely.
the moment you stop people talking about
Right.
it. So it just
Right.
becomes something they don't care about anymore. So, yeah, for me, meeting Nick was great, and hearing his stories, because how often do I don't know, could we do that?
What?
Could we hear something about our race that way
Right.
and just not do anything and not fight somebody or
Yeah.
not? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
That's
It's never
something-
happened to me before.
Right.
So
So, that is a privilege that
Yeah.
you don't have to have that in your face all the time. But could we withhold? Could we say, I'm not going to fight you today? Or would you just beat the crap out of the guy for saying that? You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
people have to face that every day. We don't have
Mhm.
to face that at all. So I think that's what we mean when we say that's a privilege that we have
yes.
as a race.
Yes.
We don't have to hear that very much. So, and Nick coming in and talking about that for us. Next segment, stop it.
Stop it.
Every time that you do that, it made me want to say, stop it.
We have a really good one to share today. It's about bad drivers. We don't live in a metropolis. We don't live in a metro area. We don't live in a big city. That sucks enough. We don't
Yes.
drive on I-40 or interstate every day. That sucks too. But small town drivers, like, guys, I have a red light that I come to every day going to work. And it's an intersection. And I get it. I live in a small town. There's not a lot of traffic. But the people that are coming my way, if I know they're turning, I can turn with them.
Right.
But if I don't know they're turning, I have to wait for them, and I have to wait and wait and wait, and the light doesn't last very long. So when that car's coming and it looks like they're going to go straight, I'm like, man, I'll just wait, and then they turn right. I can't tell you what it does to my soul. It makes me cuss, and sometimes I cuss out loud. I just can't handle it. Like, I can't. Like,
Yeah, I get it,
I
dude.
say all kinds of words in my
I get
car,
it.
and I have to ask God, like, I'm really sorry I said all that, but like,
Look,
They didn't turn the blinker on.
I'm not the best driver in the world.
Same.
I'm going to throw that out
I've
there.
wrecked a lot.
I've had wrecks. I scare my wife every time we drive. I'm not going to act like I had Josh and Chelsea in my car one time, pulled out in front of someone.
That was so
it was
fun,
either in
though.
Nashville or Jackson. I can't
Memphis.
remember. Maybe was it Memphis?
Yes.
Did like pulled out in front of someone, had them honk at me, and then like flip me off as they were driving past with everyone in the car. Minutes later, pulled into a gas station, and this guy is like backing his car up, but he doesn't see me, so I'm honking. But he gets mad that I'm honking, and he gets out and he's like talking to me through the window of my car, and I'm just like, man, this is one big day for Alex driving. But I will say that it's probably something that I need to work on as well. But I'm really intentional when people are behind me. I know when someone's behind me. I know when there's nobody there because I'm checking my mirrors all the time.
Right.
But anytime I'm driving with people around, anytime I'm driving, of course, on a big 4-lane or anything like that, I always try and be intentional about
Right.
using my dang blinker.
I know.
Let people know. So please stop driving and not using your blinker. Please stop it.
Yes. My wife is going to listen to this, and she's going to say, you don't always use your blinker. And I'm going to say, not always. We've been in and out of traffic a lot on the interstate. But you know what? They don't need my blinker.
That's right.
Like, I'm leaving those people behind anyway. Like, I'm never going to, they're not
They're-
going to see me anymore.
They're 50 yards behind me.
Yeah, they're not going to see me anymore. So I will say this. I don't use it then, but I always use it in town to let people know where I'm going. So if you don't use your blinker, stop it.
Stop.
Use your
it.
freaking blinker, man. For
Stop
the love of
it.
God, use your blinker.
We've got some other car things that I hopefully will show up in the Stop It segment. So stay tuned in, especially if you live in the
Yes.
South.
If you live in McKenzie,
Yes.
use your blinker. Stop making me cuss in my car.
Stop making Josh cuss.
Yes, because
Seriously.
it's not healthy for me, and if people know that I'm in my car cussing, I don't really know.
It's not a good look.
No, it's not. I'm glad they can't hear me. So
Thankfully,
it's
but Dave can, who's listening to your Siri. Apple's heard you cuss a few
yes,
times.
Apple's
bro.
heard me. Siri's heard me cuss a lot, all the time. So I apologize for all the cussing I do in my car that you can't hear anyway. So don't be offended by that today.
Don't be
Hey, don't
offended.
send me a text, man. I
Stop
can't do
it.
cussing in your car. 'cause
Stop
I'm gonna
it.
call you out on something.
That's
anyway.
right. That's right.
So today's topic, the main topic of this podcast, is about our health and our fitness. We're going to dive into that today because most church people dive into the buffet. We're going to dive into the discussion of
That's
talking
right.
about health and
Chelsea, real quick. Actually, wave to everybody, Chelsea, real quick. Let them know you're back there. This is Chelsea.
Yes, our
producer
producer.
Chelsea. She does everything for this podcast. How much time has this been going right now? Like, how long? Where are we at right now with our countdown?
We're probably at about 35 or so minutes.
Okay, we're at
Yeah.
35 minutes, so we're gonna have to hit this
See,
running wide open. But thank you, Chelsea, once again for doing what you do. We do appreciate you. So jumping in the health and fitness, Josh, what's your story, bro? Tell me your story, because you guys don't know this. Josh is really fit right now. He looks nice. Takes his shirt off, has abs, has pecs, has biceps. I'm jealous of him sometimes. He's a hot dude. All right, he just is. Hasn't always been that
No,
way, though.
absolutely
I
not.
refer to that version of him as Fat Josh.
Fat Josh.
And
Where's the Fat Josh?
I love Fat Josh and some of his pictures at home. Tell us how Fat Josh became not Fat Josh.
Well, Fat Josh started as Skinny Josh.
Yes.
In high school, I was always little, never could gain weight. My metabolism was through the roof. I had all this energy. I graduated, and I lived a really unhealthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So a lot of drinking, a lot of crazy stuff. Smoked. I was a big smoker. I was a smoker when me and Alicia got married. But I remember after getting married, I started gaining weight. And I was sitting on the couch one time, and I actually set the remote on my stomach. And I was like, oh, man, this is not good. Like,
Right.
I could see it
Uh-huh.
in a way where it was, like, really visible. And I was like, I don't want to be that guy.
I love that.
I don't want to be
Yes.
that guy. So now there's some tricky parts to my story because I quit smoking,
Uh-huh.
and then I quit dipping. So I quit
Ooh.
two things that took time away from me of eating.
Right.
Well, I replaced both of those things with food. And so
Awesome.
when I'd want to smoke or dip, I would eat. I gained 30 pounds.
Uh-huh.
So I went from the guy with the remote on my belly to like losing some weight, and then I gained 30 pounds. When I first started the gym, I was still smoking.
Right. Right.
I literally smoke a cigarette, go in the gym, work out, come back out, smoke a cigarette.
Go for a run.
Yeah, drink some protein, have a
Yeah.
protein shake with
Yeah.
a cigarette. So like, that's how I did it. Most people drink a beer with their cigarette. I had a
Right.
protein shake with a cigarette. So it's super gross. But Yeah, quit smoking, quit dipping, and then I gained some weight, and then I lost it, and got in shape, and then a couple of things. Anytime I have these, and I'm doing better with that now, but I have a really busy season in my life, I put all that stuff on the back burner. When you're really busy, you're like, I'm just going to do what this thing is I'm doing. I'm not going to go to the gym as much. I'm going to eat more fast food.
Right.
So when you're really busy, and of course, like church planning was
You
a
get
huge
fat.
part of that. Like I was gaining weight. I was eating
Yep.
unhealthy, stopping by McDonald's, grabbing food wherever. And then once we were a little bit more established and I could actually go to the gym and I had time, I was way more intentional with that. And then, the last few years is where I really poured into that and
Sure.
really tried to find the best fit for me because I tried to do other things that weren't really my fit and they
Right.
just didn't work. And everybody has a different thing that works for them that helps them stay accountable and weight, whether it's, and we'll talk about all these, whether it's, fasting or, keto or whatever it is. There's no like thing though. Like everybody
Right.
gets stuck on a thing.
There's not just one thing that's better than all the rest of the things.
No,
It's
there's not.
whatever works best for you is the thing for
Right.
you.
But you have your own journey.
Right.
You have your own journey with fitness and how you got there. So spill the
So-
story of the journey of Alex Gallo.
So quickly, I do want to throw this in there. We're not fat shaming anyone. We don't
No.
want anyone who's overweight to feel
No,
like
absolutely
you're
not.
a lesser than or anything like that. You're not. We just know most people know that they want to be healthier.
Mhm.
Most people want to be
They do.
healthier. And we, like I said, we've both been had our ups and downs. For me, grew up in high school, was relatively kind of athletic. I mean, I had to lift weights, had to run in basketball and stuff like that. The minute I got out of high school, I went on a Daniel fast. It was very similar to a Daniel fast for almost 8 months, actually, where I didn't eat any meats. I didn't eat anything that was considered like a dessert. So it wasn't a perfect Daniel fast.
Wow.
But for about 8 months, I didn't eat any meat, didn't eat any dessert. I lost every ounce of muscle that I had. Got huge black rings around my eyes, looked really sickly. My mom would be like, "Are you okay?" when I came home. And I'm like, "Yes, I'm praying and reading my Bible more now than ever." But at the same time, my body had lost all tone.
Right.
Immediately coming off that fast, I ate everything that I could because I hadn't eaten sweets or meat for a whole year. And you would think, oh, I'm going to lose weight not eating sweets or meat. Well, that's not true. And all you eat is like tons of beans and cheese and bread, and there's
Yeah.
tons of calories found in that stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like I just lost all my muscle having no protein. Well, then immediately coming off that, I gained. I mean, I solidly gained 50 pounds in the next year or so because all I did was eat. All I wanted to do was
Right.
drink sodas and eat sweets and eat, Taco Bell and burgers and whatever. And so that's what I did. Well, then I started getting interested in a certain girl at that time, and I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. And I started doing Insanity, which is just cardio pretty much, which means
right.
it's not really a lot of muscle building, but it's good to burn calories. I did Insanity. I lost almost 55 pounds and went down to like 165, had like abs for the first time, really even in my life. Had like defined abs. It was great, but I was so skinny. I mean, just got
Right.
so skinny. Didn't stay consistent with that. Was that way for about a year. Then I literally gained 50 more pounds again. And then it did not help when I started dating my now wife. Got married. The minute I got married, I gained 20 pounds in almost 2 months.
Wow.
It was awful. It was embarrassing because at that point you're seeing someone naked all the time, and my wife is having to see me naked.
No doubt.
And I'm like, man, she is beautiful and I am disgusting. I just couldn't handle looking at myself. And so one day I literally just started figuring out something. I was like,
Right.
I am not just going to get skinny. I want to build some muscle. I want to do this. And I went on this, it's almost a 2-year journey of me figuring out what worked for me in the weight room. I got on this program. It's like it's a funny program. People make fun of it,
Greg.
but it helped me, okay? It's called Keno Body.
Greg.
I saw it as an advertisement on Instagram. I got on it, started lifting for the first time, started seeing myself get stronger than ever, but I'm losing weight. And then all of a sudden, now at one point, I had abs and biceps and a decent like chest. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is doable. But here's the thing. I'm just talking about the workout program. But the biggest thing I learned in this process was eating.
Yes.
Because 80% of what you want to do with your body, 80% of how you want to change your body is going to come down to how you eat. While the gym can can cause you your body tone to be different. The shape of your body, the form of your body when you lose that weight, because it can make you have more defined shoulders and back and chest and abs or legs or whatever. And it's great for ladies as well. Going to the gym and lifting tons of weight is not necessarily going to make you lose fat.
Oh,
The only way you lose fat is by taking in less calories than you spend. And that was one of the first things I had to learn, was this idea of calories. I never understood. I was always taught, if you want to lose weight, you got to eat healthy food. You got to eat grilled chicken. You got to go on the keto diet. You got to go on the Atkins diet. You have to run. You can't lose weight without running. You have to intermittent fast, which means you don't eat for the first 6 hours of your day, and you fit your all your food into 2 meals. Yeah, you skip breakfast pretty much is all it means. Or you have to eat like an endomorph or an ectomorph or a mesomorph, you have to juice or whatever. Gosh, there's 1,000 things. You have
Detox. You got to drink a tea.
You have to drink a tea. You
Drink the
have
tea.
To, what's the
Drink
fat?
the
What's the
tea.
fat burning supplements that everyone takes? Gosh.
That one company.
Oh, you see them all the time. Take this, you'll lose all this weight. It's just not. That doesn't exist. First of all, it's a myth. There's not even one supplement that causes you to burn fat. Zero. That does not exist. There's supplements that cause you to be a little bit less hungry. There's not even one supplement that exists that
Or they
causes
make
you
you
to
feel
lose
like you're
fat,
on
though.
meth.
Yes.
when you run around
They're not
all
going to make
day.
you feel good. But no pill will make you lose weight, period. The only way you can lose weight, and it doesn't matter what diet you choose.
Right.
Because if you're juicing, it means you're cutting out calories. If you're doing keto and you're only eating meat, you're not eating carbs, then you're cutting out those calories from the carbs.
Yep.
The only way for you to lose weight is for you to cut your calories down. You have to spend more calories with your body than you take in.
Yep.
And I started learning how to do that. Now, not everyone does this. I started learning how to count my calories. And really what that means is I started taking note of everything that I ate. I weighed every piece of food that I ate. If it was peanut butter, I put it in a little cup and I weighed it on a scale. And I recorded that, and I would figure out how much protein that was, how many carbs that was, how much fat that was, how much calories that was. And you have to take in less amount of calories for your body type, or not your body type, but your age, your gender, and your how active you are, I guess. I figured that out. I started eating less calories than I'd ever eaten. And it's funny because they have tons of apps that help you do this. MyFitnessPal, what's the one that My Net Diary, that's the one I use right now. I just got it a long time ago, learned how to use it. You can scan foods that you eat, and it'll do it for you. You can go to a restaurant and type it in. It'll have that thing on there for you. It'll tell you how much calories. And you'd be surprised. I started learning why foods were considered healthy or unhealthy. There is no such thing technically as a healthy food. You could eat any food, and if you eat too much of it, you're still going to get those calories. So technically you could just eat grilled chicken breast and rice, but if you eat too much of that, you're going to gain weight because it's going to be over in calories. So I started learning how to do that. I ended up losing another 50 pounds, and I did not go a single week without eating pizza and burgers because I just started learning how to fit it in my calories.
Fit it in.
And then at the same time, not only did I lose fat, but I gained muscle, which is huge. Josh, what are some of the strategies or stuff that you would encourage someone with? Because I know you're even more intense sometimes with this than I can be.
Well, for me, I count macros. It's huge for me.
Right.
It also allows me to manipulate my diet and fit things that I want to fit in.
What's a macro?
So macros are this. You have 3 things that you count: your fat, your carbs, and your protein. So 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories, and 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. So I try to have a low fat intake for the day, like 50 to 60 grams of fat. My carbs is anywhere from like 100 grams of carbs, and then my protein I try to be at like 150, 180, whatever, in that range, somewhere in that range. It just depends. Right now, I'm kind of cutting back, so I'm leaning out a little, so my calories are going to be really low.
Right.
But typical, you're going to have different things. You have maintenance, you have growth, or you have, if you want to lean or lose weight. But I think the biggest thing most people mess up on is there's all this pressure to do it really fast.
Right.
Like right now I'm leaning out, but we're in this COVID thing. So I'm not really busy at night. So there's more of a tendency to eat. So yeah, intermittent fasting is huge for me. It has been for the last couple of years, but I tend to eat more at night, so I kind of save some of that stuff
Right.
for my nighttime, when I'm eating. But everybody has all this pressure to like lose weight fast, and I'm losing weight. I'm leaning out right now, and I'm literally in 2 weeks I've lost 7 pounds,
Right.
which is or
Okay.
2.5
Honestly,
weeks.
that's actually really good. Don't let him
Well-
lie to you.
well, it's maybe 3 weeks, It's
7
2 to 3
pounds.
weeks.
7 pounds even in 3 weeks is
Yeah.
like 2 pounds, over 2 pounds a week, which
So,
is insane.
I'm trying to like normally I could do it faster.
Yeah.
Because normally I can incorporate some more cardio, which I
Right.
really haven't been doing any cardio, and that would I would lean out a little quicker.
I hate
I
cardio.
do too. I like to run outside. I don't like to run inside
Yeah.
on a treadmill. I think it's terrible. But everybody puts this pressure on because they listen to this infomercial or they listen to some network marketing thing, and it's like, hey, I gotta lose weight. I can lose all of it. I can lose 50 pounds in 6 weeks. It's not
Yeah.
even real.
Yeah.
But unless you cut like your leg off, I mean, you could do
Right.
that if you like remove a limb.
Right.
But there's this pressure, and then when they don't get it, they get frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
or they think I can never have another cheeseburger, or I can never have another piece of pizza, whatever. But like
Right.
most of the time, it's because you can't just have one cheeseburger. You have to have
Exactly.
6 a week. And that doesn't
Uh-huh.
work.
No.
But you can manage it and do a little bit of those things here and there.
Hey, I had a buddy that wouldn't eat all day. Daniel, you know Daniel.
Yeah.
He wouldn't eat all day long. Literally would not eat anything until like 7:30 at night, which is totally undoable. I cannot do that.
I can't either.
But he would go all day without eating a single thing and then eat an entire pizza every night.
Oh my
And he
gosh.
lost 45 pounds doing that.
That's wild.
Isn't that insane?
That is
but
wild.
he just saved up all 2,000 of his calories, or 2,200, however much he had, and he ate it all in one meal. And that's insane. And then he gained a bunch of weight back, unfortunately, later on. But
'Cause
he's
it's
doing
not-
good. He's
'cause
doing good right now. He's killing it.
Sustainable. You got to
Yeah,
do something
it's not
sustainable.
sustainable.
Whatever looks good for you, whatever's easier for you, whatever helps you lose a little here and there. But do what's sustainable. Like try different things, but don't get stuck on one thing and saying this has to be the thing that changes my life because
Right.
it's probably not going to be.
No, it's
Like,
not.
Intermittent fasting works for me because I'm more productive throughout the day. It
Yeah.
helps me be a little bit more productive. I don't get sleepy because I don't carb out. Of course, lunchtime hits. And every day I eat lunch. If I eat too much, I'm done for the day.
Right.
Like, I can barely even function.
Right. I have, like right now, I have 1,100 calories left for nighttime, which is actually, it's pretty
Yes.
good. It's like that. It's right around where I want to stay. I've
Mhm.
been doing this for 2.5 years now, so I know at nighttime
Yeah.
I'm going to want about 1,200 calories.
Yep.
So I try and eat only about 800 for
Yes.
lunchtime. I've already
Save
done
for
that.
all the food, all the popcorn.
Uh-huh. The more
whatever
protein
else.
you eat, the easier it'll be because protein keeps you fuller longer. So if you're looking to lose weight, work on your protein intake and your calories. That's going to be the two most important, I would say. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but in my personal experience, the two most important things were, of course, calories being
Mhm.
the number one thing, but the number two thing would be making sure you eat good protein because protein keeps you fuller longer.
Yeah, because the goal is like just less processed foods.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
Processed foods makes you want to eat more processed
And
foods.
they're more calorie dense
and
every
they have
time.
like the carbs are out the roof, the calories are out the roof. And when you're looking at like, if you do get down to the point where you look at like fat content on a package, you look at the total fat content.
Right.
Not like this. There's more
Make sure
than
you look
just-
at things called serving sizes.
Yes.
You look at mayonnaise and it'll be like 40 calories, but it'll say 40 calories per servings, but how many servings are you
Yeah.
actually taking in here? And it'll be like 5 servings, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, like, yeah, I don't know.
Because one Starburst is 20 calories. Think
Right.
about that. So like if you eat a whole thing of Starburst, like it's probably like 200 calories.
Do you know it takes almost 10 to 15 minutes of just normal walking to burn 20 calories?
Oh yeah, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
Like when you go to McDonald's and you get a value meal and it says it's 1,100 calories in the value meal, you'd have to run 13 miles to burn that.
Right.
Like people don't think about that either.
No.
I just had one like double quarter pounder with cheese and a large fry
Yeah.
and a large Coke. I'm like,
That Coke.
Another
dude.
thing,
Talk
don't-
about the drinks.
don't
dude.
drink your calories.
Don't do it.
Do
it's
not
not
drink
worth
your
it.
calories. Water, 0 calorie drinks, whatever it looks like, but just don't
Yeah.
drink calories. Like it's kind of a waste.
There's too many low calorie drinks out there. I mean, obviously water is going to be the best for you.
Yes.
I can't just go water. I drink a like a 0 calorie Powerade or a Gatorade or
Mhm.
a Sprite Zero
Yep.
all the time. Now that's not really good for your teeth. Soda's just not good for your teeth.
right.
But at the end of the day, I just suffer that consequence because mentally I'm not to the point where I can just drink water. I drink a
Yes.
lot of water, but I like drinking something besides water with my meals.
Yeah, I like a good Coke Zero every once in a while. I know it has
Absolutely.
aspartame. I know it's gonna rot my brain or whatever, but like it's still good.
I'm still doing all right.
Yep.
So
I'm not fully gone yet. I'm still viable.
now to end this, for someone who is wanting to maybe get into the gym or whatever, we talked a lot about lifting weights and different stuff like that. I want to give my take on kind of what I do
Mm-hmm.
to do it, and then I want you to just
Sure.
give your take on what you
Yeah.
do. So first, I did Insanity for a while, which is just pure cardio. I mean,
Maybe
there's like
puke first time I did it.
it's awful. It's really hard, but it's just lots of running and up and down,
Yeah.
jumping, stuff like that. And cardio is great. Even just walking, brisk walking, jogging, all that stuff, it's fantastic. But you won't get the body shape you're looking for.
Right.
That if you just do cardio, you want to put some resistance on your muscles. You want your muscles to grow. You don't just want to lose fat. For most of you, some of you, that may be a great option, and cardio is fantastic. I use cardio as a supplement. So what I do is called strength training. So pretty much what that means is I find 5 or 6 exercises. Of course, like Mondays, it's chest and triceps.
Right.
Wednesdays, it's legs and shoulders. Fridays, it's back and biceps. And I'll find 3 exercises for each of those body parts. And I do really heavy weights. So I'll start off with my heaviest weight. I'll do it 4 to 6 times. And then I come down in weight, but then I do that weight 6 to 8 times. And I come down in weight again, about 10% of whatever I use it for. I do that 8 to 10 times. And then I'm trying to move up every single week, even if it's 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds, whatever.
Right.
Every week I'm trying to get either 1 more rep or 5 more pounds on whatever it is I'm doing. And that's just
good.
what I like.
Yeah.
I don't like doing 15 reps of stuff. It makes me sick. It literally makes me dizzy. It makes me want to throw up, and I want to enjoy my time. But there are other people
Right.
who do not even like strength training. I mean, they hate strength. They
Yes.
love that pump that you get because you get a different pump when you're not
Yes.
doing strength training.
Uh-huh.
I totally get it. So I do strength training, lots of heavier weights,
Right.
lower reps, and then I supplement that with either walking or jogging at the end, or on off days, different stuff like that. Don't do a lot of ab stuff because at the end of the day, if you lose enough body fat,
Yep.
your abs will show. You can make abs in the gym. They are definitely built in the gym, but they're revealed from your diet.
Yep.
So Josh, I know you take a different approach, sometimes a
Most
little bit to different.
Most of my workouts,
lifting.
and I get Julian Smith is a guy that I follow pretty heavily. Julian is a super cool dude, and his workouts are really great. He introduced me to something that I'd never really done before. Because I've always done regular workouts. I've done strength training. I've done lots of reps. I've done CrossFit, which I wish I could do all the time. I just physically can't all the time because it's so hard on my body. And I like guys like Matt Frazier that are some of the fittest people in the entire world. Matt Frazier lives in Cookville, by the way,
Right. Oh,
right down the road.
that's cool.
He's won CrossFit games 4 times in a row. And
Let's
he lives
go.
in Cookville. But
We're at Tennessee.
Yep, Tennessee rep. So for me, I use time and retention is a big thing for me. Julian's big for time and retention, where you have a lot of negatives.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you're lowering, when you're bringing the weight down, like if you're on the bench, you're bringing the weight down. You're actually going to hold that. We're going to do like a 4-second negative, so it adds more time and retention for your
Right.
muscles. So you get a bigger pump, which is something that I just enjoy more.
Yeah.
I enjoy some of the slower reps. I'm not pushing so hard on my muscles because I'm 40, so I
Right.
get
Yeah,
tendonitis
strength
at
training is
times.
really tough even
Yeah.
as you get older, which for right now, I don't have joint problems or whatever problems. I'm not old, so Josh is old.
I am old, so I do have those. I do have those issues because when I do any kind of strength training, really heavy, my elbows start hurting.
Right.
Then my shoulder starts hurting. Then I have all these like aches and pains. So I try not to do that. Still, sometimes my knees are really bad. I have a lot of injuries in my knees, and so sometimes even with the time and attention on my legs, I still get those aches and pains every once in a while. But for me, that is the most sustainable thing that I can do for
Sure.
my body is time and attention. So I do that because I fully believe, like you said, abs are revealed in your diet, because I see people all the time on an ab machine who I know are going to go home and eat 3,000 calories in that
Right.
next meal, and they're on the ab machine. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, like what you think you're doing, but like
Yeah.
you can't burn fat in one spot.
It's impossible. You cannot do exercises that burn fat around your stomach area. That doesn't exist. You will lose fat from your face, and
Your
then you'll
neck.
lose it from your neck, and then your arms, and then your legs, and then at the very then once you've stayed really consistent, then
Your
you will
stomach.
begin really losing it from your stomach. That's the last thing to go, though. Every time. Not that you won't see a decrease,
Right.
but
It's the last thing to
it's
fully
still
go.
going to be there.
It's
and
the
it's going
hardest
to be
thing
the
to move.
hardest thing
Yep,
to move.
for
I
sure.
have only twice in my whole life gotten to the point where I had very noticeable abs. I don't have that right now. COVID has not been kind to my abs. They are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it's been definitely hard for me too. That's
but-
been a tough season.
I don't know. I would just suggest to anybody as we're wrapping this up, just find something that works for you.
Yep.
If it's running, go run. If it's walking right now and you can't go run, start walking. Start watching what you eat, even if you don't want to count your calories. When you go to a restaurant, all you have to do is, instead of getting the crispy chicken, get a grilled chicken. Instead of getting the appetizer, get a salad. Little stuff like that. You'll be surprised.
Yep.
For some of you, just stop drinking sodas at the beginning and just
Right.
drink water. Very, very small things. You don't have to get as intense as we do. Now, if you want to get to like bodybuilder, athlete type shredded, you're going to have to get really intense with it. But for the majority of people, maybe you just want to lose 10 or 15 pounds.
Right.
There's usually some pretty easy ways to do that.
Yes.
Don't eat as much pasta. Eat more lean meat, things like turkey meat or chicken, and don't fry it. Different stuff like that. But just start with what you know to do. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
Don't try and lose 50 pounds in a week. It's not going to happen. You're going to make yourself sick. You're going to get burnt out.
Yeah.
Maybe trying to do it. But just start somewhere.
Don't even try to lose 10 pounds in a week. Like,
No,
you
don't even try it. Try to lose 2. At the most, you'll lose 2 pounds a week for most people. But honestly, a good average is about 1 to 1.5 pounds a week.
Mhm.
Like, that's what any good doctor
Yeah.
will tell you is what you need to be shooting for long term.
Most of the time, it's all going to be water in the beginning
Right,
anyway.
right.
But the thing is, like, use supplements as supplements. That's what they're called, supplements. They're a
Right.
supplement to your diet.
Right.
People get on these like crazy kicks where they order this thing. Some of those things are great. Abacare makes great products. I've
Yeah.
used those before. My
Yeah.
wife uses Isogenics, whatever. But like, they are not the end all be all.
They
Your
will
food,
not. They will not take you across the finish line.
Your food is
It's
everything.
everything.
It means everything. So like, use supplements for what they're intended to be.
Yes.
Supplements.
Get out in the sun. Go for things like swim. Park further away from the Walmart parking lot. Use the
Yeah.
stairs. Seriously, just
Yeah,
small
little
stuff like that.
things,
If you
man.
can't work out 3 times a week, then do things like park at the end of the parking lot, or
That's
do
good.
a couple jumping jacks and push-ups in the morning, or some air squats. Just something. Just do
Something.
something. When you're reading, instead of just reading, walk and read. Listen
Mhm.
to an audiobook. Whatever. So, yeah. Anything else, too, as we wrap this
Walk
up?
on a treadmill and read.
That's a great idea. If
Just walk in public.
there was a while back that I almost bought a treadmill so that I could write my sermons and walk the whole time, and like with a desk on it. I wanted a treadmill with a desk so that I could type and walk.
That's good.
I never bought it, but I wanted it.
That's cool.
So
Super cool. Episode 3, we're checking out. Thank you guys for listening. Like, share, comment, review. If you hate this podcast, give it a 5-star negative review. Just do
just give
that.
it a 5-star review, anyways.
Yeah, and just say how much you hate it.
Yeah.
So, love you guys. We will see you soon. We are out for
Over and
What
out.
We Are Thinking with Alex and Josh.
We'll see you soon.